I don't want to get scared, man. This is a fucking torture.
So if you haven't heard about it already, this is Iron Lung VR, the game that actually gives you the chance to live out your dream of being a multi-millionaire.
Yo, that is messed up, yo!
So I remember seeing people play this game back when it first came out, kind of just on the flat screen version of it. And you know, I thought it looked neat, I thought it looked pretty interesting, but never enough to get me to actually pull the trigger and actually buy it for myself. That was until someone mentioned to me that apparently there's a VR version of this game, and you know, my first thought was, a VR version of a game based around claustrophobia, a foreboding atmosphere, and horror. I mean, that just sounds awful. But I was told that the mod was free, so I decided, okay, I'll give it a shot, I'll go ahead and download it, and what do you know? Turns out I was 100% right. It is awful. Well, to me at least. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't do VR horror well at all. I mean, I might be a total stud in real life, but in VR, I'm kinda just a complete baby. It really just seems to just get to me for some reason, and this game is just no exception. Now, a quick summary of the game for those who don't already know. Apparently, decades ago, all habitable planets and life on them just disappeared, leaving only those still in space alive. And with supplies running out, people start searching for any signs of natural resources left in the universe. And they have apparently discovered a strange moon with just an ocean of blood. So, you play the part of a convict being forced into a makeshift sub, ordered to explore and scan the ocean floor. Because, you know, we all know just how effective those makeshift subs really are. Now, I do want to point out real quick that this game did come out a good amount before the whole Titanic incident. However, as you would probably expect, the game did start selling like hotcakes during the whole OceanGate fiasco. The game's creator, David Szymanski, even came out and said it kind of felt a little wrong seeing the number of sales increase like they did, adding, "I definitely see the dark humor in this whole Titanic sub thing. It's just like, I made Iron Lung the most nightmarish thing I could think of. And knowing real people are in that situation right now is pretty horrific, even if it was their own bad decisions." So yeah, people were buying the game left and right to get the full OceanGate experience. And now with the VR mod created by Jack Randolph, made with the permission of David of course, people can now experience this claustrophobic nightmare in VR. Gameplay wise, it's pretty simple. The main objective is just to navigate your sub to the specified coordinates and take a picture. You control the sub not with some dumb Mad Catz controller, I don't know who would think that would be a good idea, but instead with just some easy to access buttons that simply control the direction you're facing as well as the speed of the sub. Your display is kept pretty simple as well. Since you're actually welded in the sub and have no visuals whatsoever, the display simply shows you the coordinates that you're currently at, as well as the direction you're currently facing. Using that information, you can cross-reference your map that you have to figure out exactly where in the cavern you are, and of course how to get to your next objective. Now again, it's very simple gameplay-wise, but Iron Lung really isn't trying to sell you on the gameplay exactly. Instead, it's trying to sell you more so on the atmosphere of it all. The point of the game is to mostly just immerse you in this claustrophobic and foreboding atmosphere. And even if at first this doesn't really hit you too much, as the game progresses and the creaks in the sub become louder, fires start popping up, and the water starts slowly filling the sub, the light-hearted dark humor begins to kind of fade, and all that's really left is just this overall sense of dread. And there's something about the simplistic and sort of monotonous task of piloting the sub to each objective and just taking a picture that seems to just allow you to get comfortable enough with what you're doing that you begin to instead let your mind wonder and imagine what's actually out there, increasing that sense of fear, especially when you begin to notice things in the photos that really shouldn't be there. Speaking of the photos, it really is such a simple yet effective way of making you feel like there's actually something out there. I mean, since you're completely sealed in with no visuals whatsoever, your camera is kind of your only way to really see the outside world. And most of the time it will show you pretty much nothing, but other times it can be kinda creepy. The game is a classic example of less is more. Alright, the less we know about something, the more our mind will just start filling in the gaps on its own, which a lot of times will be far more frightening than anything based in reality. And when you're in VR especially, it can really be very easy for you to kind of lose yourself in the moment and let your mind just treat it as if you're actually there, which can lead to some frightening occurrences. Now, as a certified scuba diver myself, I'm not exactly prone to claustrophobia or fears of the ocean of any kind. However, after being in that sub for like 45 minutes, hearing all the creaks, seeing the water slowly fill the sub up, and knowing that there's something out there trying to get me, I'm not gonna lie, it started to freak me out a little bit.
Again, it's wearing on me. The longer I stay here, the more it's just starting to get to me. My hand's shaking. Look at my hands shaking. Motherfucker.
My hands just kept shaking more and more as I got near the end, and I could kind of tell by the way things were going that it probably wasn't going to end so well for me. So every time I heard something clang or just anything at all, my heart would literally about jump out of my chest. Unfortunately, it is kind of a one and done game since everything is actually just kind of scripted to happen. Like the oxygen, for example, is actually based on just what objective you're on and has no real time restraint to it whatsoever, and the same goes for the flooding of the sub, so there's really no sense of urgency the second time around. However, with that said, it's still a pretty enjoyable adventure.
This is a fucking torture. Oh my god, my heart's racing. Oh my god.
Okay, well, maybe enjoyable is the wrong word for it, but if you're into atmospheric set pieces or just love a good scare, it's definitely worth a try. Now, I know this is kind of a quicker video than I normally make, however, it's a lot shorter of a game than I normally play, but it is one that was fun enough that I still really wanted to make a video on. Either way, if you'd like to see more VR games, you can always check out my video I did on the Half-Life 2 VR mod over here to my left. Spoiler alert, it was a blast to play through. But if you're not into that, you can always check out whatever YouTube's recommending over here to my right. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to be seeing you again real soon. Peace.